So back working on the 95 Caprice station wagon. It's still, even though we did some work on it and we had a bad MAP sensor, it still was, after a few days, it was starting to set codes again. And it's been running fairly well, but and I thought perhaps some of these codes were secondary behind the MAP sensor. But we still have a 43 spark control problem. The mass airflow sensor is showing a problem which it did not before, although Dan cleaned the mass airflow sensor, and that has made the car run better. It doesn't surge or the performance is better since it's cleaned, but it's still showing a problem with a 48 code. And then this other one that's popped up, 83, which is the torque converter clutch circuit problem. So we got three things to diagnose. I'm not quite sure what we'll get to right now, but they're things that we need to dig into. All right, now we got it fired up and looking at the data stream, and just for observations. So batteries at about 14. The long-term fuel trims are not updating at this point. In fact, it says it's off, which is fine. Let's drop our way down here. Converter clutch on-off switch is off, which it ought to be since we're sitting here in neutral. Evap is off. Coolant, it's still warming up. It's been running a few minutes. IAC positioner at 31. That's pretty nicely come down, and the idle's running about a little under 700. Pulse width is 4. It's interesting that it's labeled millivolts, but I think it should be labeled milliseconds. But pulse widths are looking okay. The short-term fuel trims are they're like neutral, and I'm a little surprised they aren't adjusting. But no knock retard, but the knock sensor is showing a value of 22, and I don't understand the significance of that against having a DTC, so I can't say whether that's a good or a bad reading. We are in closed loop. The mass airflow says 7-8 grams per second. Again, that's a number I'm used to seeing in that neighborhood. What's got me a little mystified is that it's in closed loop, but both O2 sensors are running above 900. And typically when you're in closed loop, they should be cycling back and forth across 450. I'm pretty sure 900 would be rich, below 450 would be lean, and you ought to see them crossing back and forth. And so I'm not sure what that means, and why it isn't adjusting itself. The short-term fuel trims should be, you would think, should be pulling that back, but they're not so far. Other than that, says we've been running 11 minutes. Spark advance is at 18. And TCC stuff is off because we're not driving. Everything else looks pretty good, so we're going to need to go back and check the mass airflow circuit, make sure the pins are all good in the connector and clean, and probably replace a knock sensor, because the knock sensor, we're getting a code for it not behaving, and I believe on this car that the knock sensor is screwed into the block and then it wires straight to the ECM. I don't believe it has an independent module on it like my 85 Camaro does. Anyway, that's about as far as we're at right now. All right, we cleared codes and then keyed the car back up, fired it up. It's idling. And the ESC set and the torque converter clutch set within 5 or 10 seconds of us getting the car fired back up again. So there's probably a real electrical problem. It's not, the ESC isn't failing its test because we haven't driven the car so it could run a dynamic test. It's just picking up some kind of a circuit fault. And the same thing's true with the TCC circuit. It is likely an electrical thing where it's got some kind of a circuit code problem or circuit problem that we'll have to check. Now the mass airflow sensor didn't light up, but that doesn't mean it's cured. So more to go. So with a little further digging, here's a wiring diagram picture. And if you look down at the bottom of this one, this is inputs to the ECM. You'll see at the very bottom that there are 2 knock sensors on this engine. Apparently one in each side of the block. On my Camaro, it's on the passenger side screwed into one of the block drains. And so we haven't gone and looked yet, but I think the left-hand side has a similar arrangement. We've done a little bit of digging in, and it looks like one of those knock sensors has failed. And since the 2 are tied together on a common circuit, that's what's causing the fault. So likely we can test them one at a time, or perhaps as with the age of the car, we'll just go ahead and replace both of them. But that'll get us through that one. And then a little bit more digging will be required on the transmission, but it's possible we'll have to go in and replace a transmission pressure solenoid. More to come on that front, but hey, thanks for watching, and that's all for now.